There is something about meditation and acceptance that analyzing and talking about will never fix. A lot of us focus on the self first. We think of ways to boost our self-confidence, heal our past selves, and achieve a glow-up from the inside out. We focus on improving the self. But what if instead we focused on allowing the imperfections to be as they are? If we look at life through a lens of neutrality and find contentment in the imperfection, that's when we truly improve the self. Who are we without our egoic identification? Who are we really without our personalities? If you remove the shell, the preferences that make up who you are or who you think you are, who would you be? While I am by no means an enlightened Stoic sage, I do find that when I release myself from my identity, the identity that I think I am, and when I let go of that which I have no control over, I am more peaceful. I am content. Happiness only comes from letting go. The self and the celebration of our individual identities, it causes more problems than solutions. We're perfectionists, trying to feel like we have some sort of control over everything in our lives, but we're missing the whole point of happiness, because happiness does not come from anything outside of us. When we seek happiness and fulfillment from outside of ourselves, when we seek joy from our relationships, from people, from things, from experiences, we're trying to find something to complete us, to fill the missing gap that we feel in our own lives. But our feeling of completion only comes when we surrender to the idea that we need to be whole. Do you want to know the real way to feel a completion with yourself? The real way to feel whole and fulfilled and, in a sense, perfected. It comes when we surrender to the idea that we need to be whole, that we need to be perfect. That is when we find total stillness and oneness in presence. This presence is empty space, neutrality. There's this Buddhist practice where one makes a mandala in the sand. It's a teaching of finding the beauty in impermanence, recognizing and embracing the physical reality of all things. All things in life are impermanent and fleeting. It's like building a sandcastle on the edge of a sea, knowing that the tide will come in. If you expect your sandcastle to still be there the next day, if you expect that the tide won't carry it out to sea, you're delusional. Life is here to teach us to have grit and resilience. It's the same with spiders. No matter how many times the wind and rain and people wipe down their webs, they will always get back up and start weaving, even if it takes all afternoon to do it. Some things in life are meant to be unknowable, and one of the ways that we can really cultivate and embrace living life fully and not knowing everything that comes with life is to meditate. And I've said this so many times in videos, but meditation is everything. And you don't have to start with doing 10 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day. Just start with 1 minute. 1 minute a day when you wake up. 1 minute, that's all. And every day you can add 10 seconds. And you'll get better and better over time. And I have a whole blog post about my best tips for meditation. I'll include it down below if you'd like to read it. But just observe your thoughts. Just watch them. There's no need to judge them or, form an opinion about those thoughts, just watch them. And then when we can go about our daily tasks, practicing meditation while in activity, as you're washing the dishes, as you're folding your laundry, as you're cooking, whatever it is that you're doing, can you be so fully present in the here and now? Can you be so fully in your body, connected with your senses, connected with the breath, the present moment reality, no judgment, no preconceptions, no idea or opinion of what's going on, but just be. In order to be more compassionate beings, we need to cultivate a non-judgmental outlook on life. This is one of the biggest things that has changed my life, is I have stopped assuming and judging and placing my own past memories, experiences, thoughts, and preconceptions onto other people. So many of us don't see people for how they actually are, but how we want them to be. Anything that we do or experience, we are seeing that experience through our own filter, our own lens of perception. And this perception is based off of our own personal experiences that we've had in our own lives, our own opinions and beliefs about people and life. And when we meet someone for the first time, we don't see them exactly as they are. We don't see them in clear, sharp focus, but rather we see what we want to see in them. We project what we hope is within them. Perhaps we think about how much we immediately already like them or dislike them, or who they remind us of. Who does this person remind me of, and how did that relationship make me feel? Immediately, when we come across people or experiences, we immediately place judgment onto the situation itself. But one of the best things that we can do for ourselves to feel this sense of peace and calm and contentment in life, to have this non-attachment, is to see everything as it is, to see people as who they truly are, to meet them for the first time, to see life and experiences as if we're experiencing it for the very first time. I find it's really important to remove my attachment with who I think I am, with who my identity is, this identity that I've cultivated and other people have cultivated for me. We all have identities that we've attached ourselves to, and oftentimes we don't even realize that we did it. We don't realize that other people have attached an identity to us. It just goes over our heads until we wake up, until we sit with the discomfort, the emptiness, the feeling that there is so much more, that we are so much more. In that stillness, that silence, the breath, the meditation practice, that's when we really acknowledge who we are. And it has nothing to do with the identity that we've attached ourselves to. Don't try to understand what you are feeling. Just feel it. This is the opposite of what any spiritual self-help book teaches us. But instead of trying to solve it, instead of trying to fix it, just feel it. Pay attention and observe the feelings as they come up, and don't judge it. Watch it. Be the observer. And then transfer your attention to your breathing, your lungs expanding and releasing the in and out of your breath. Just be with it. We're going deep there today. We're going to talk about death now, because this is something I actually learned recently. I'm naturally fascinated by death. I think death is a beautiful unfolding process, and I think we live in a death-phobic society. It's considered taboo to be talking or to even be contemplating death. And it's interesting because I've always been fascinated by it, but I recently learned that in Buddhism, they actually meditate on death quite frequently, specifically on the idea of having a young death or having a sooner than expected death in middle age. They meditate on having an earlier death, and basically what you do is you sit with it. You meditate and you imagine and think about how you would feel if you had to die earlier than expected. Would you be okay with that? And this kind of brings up the next topic of emotion. You know, when you sit with an emotion for long enough, when you observe the emotion and you sit with it rather than being in the emotion itself, you start to notice that the emotion gets smaller. The fear shrinks the more that you pay attention and observe the emotion. When we learn to be okay and accepting of challenging things in our lives like death or accidents or illness, the blow doesn't come as much as a surprise. When we can prepare ourselves for anything in life, because anything is inevitable, right? Anything can happen at any time. We are never 100% protected, right? How can we learn to be okay with the hard stuff? How can we learn to be okay with death, an early death, a sooner than expected death? We fear losing our identity because we fear emptiness. But emptiness, that neutrality of space, is nothing to be afraid of. In fact, in that neutrality, in that absence of identity and emotional reactivity and blame and assumptions and presumptions and all of these attachments that we've put onto things, people, relationships, places, when we remove all of that emotion and we can just be present and neutral and empty, we access that inner stillness and that peace and that eternal oneness. And we can only access that when we let go of the identity. And here's the thing. This doesn't mean that you no longer feel any emotion, or that you don't express passion, or that you are not your personality. You don't have to feel emotionally flat to experience presence. You can still have your identity, your personality, your colorful flair that makes you you. But it's just that you no longer attach yourself to it. You no longer believe that you are only that and that you can only ever be that, because you are so much more. Our true essence is in the absence of identity. And so I really encourage you to take your focus out of the mind, out of the personality, out of who you think you are, and bring it down. Bring it down into the body. Bring it down into the heart. Place your hands on your heart and feel. What is that? We don't need to fix ourselves or cure ourselves or glow up or even heal ourselves. We don't need to do any of that. We just need to let go of the identity, of the egoic fixation on what we think we are and what we think we know. Only then are we truly free. This is such a beautiful scene. Just the light hitting the rocks and the light falling so gracefully on these leaves. The wind, so pretty. Oh, such a simple moment, but so profound at the same time.